questions and answering you throughout the presentation. We are also going to allow some time after the last presenter to have a brief Q&A to discuss some of those questions that are being asked. We will also email the attendees with the responses to the questions that are asked. But if we, for any reason, didn't get to your question, please feel free to contact us with those questions. We'll have contact information at the end as well. Also, please contact us if the question involves any personal information. Please don't include any of that information in the chat because everyone will be able to see that information. With that, I will pass it along to our first presenter, Monica, with testing.
Hi, good evening. I'm sorry, I forgot I was on mute. Good evening. My name is Monica Carrion. I am from Testing Services on Northeast Campus. The Northeast Campus is located in Hearst, directly off of Precinct and Harwood. So tonight I'm going to cover the TSIA2. There was a TSI A1 version, and we just recently moved to the 2.0 version earlier this year in January. I'll also cover the exemptions, the pre-assessment activity, payment, which students need to pay, study resources for students, your testing options, and the referral process, how you can go about obtaining a TSI test referral. Now, I do have a lot of information to cover, so I will try to go slowly but thoroughly, and you are more than welcome to take pictures because, like I said, it is a lot of information to cover, and you might want to refer back to the information that I'm going over. So that way you can save it on your phone or on your computer or whichever you prefer. Okay, so what is the TSI A2? It's a test to determine your readiness for college. It is composed of two parts, the ELAR, which stands for English Language, Arts, and Reading, and everyone's favorite, the math portion. It is not a pass or fail test. You can go at your own pace. It is not timed. It is computer adaptive and scored immediately. So that means you do receive your scores as soon as you complete your test. The ELAR portion, English, again, English, Language, Arts, and Reading. Now, just to be clear, the arts portion does not have anything to do with art itself. It's a form of art for the English language. I do have a student who did ask if they would be tested over anything artistic. So I just wanted to clarify that. So the test is composed of two portions, reading and writing, 15 questions each. The first set of questions, which is 30 questions, is college level based. So that means those 30 questions are college level, and based on the way you answer those questions, you may or may not see an essay. If you score high enough, you will get an essay, and if you don't score high enough, you will not get an essay. If you don't score high enough, you will be taken into the diagnostic portion. And the diagnostic portion is the part of the test that tries to figure out which courses to place you into because you didn't score well enough in the college level portion. And I hope that makes sense to everyone. So again, 15 questions are reading based. The other 15 questions are writing based, all college level questions. Based on your score from those questions, you may or may not see an essay. And then based on your college level questions, you may or may not be taken into the diagnostic portion. Now, like I said, it is all untimed, but we estimate about an hour for each portion. Again, it's all self-paced. Math, my least favorite portion. Again, first set of questions are college level questions. The second set of questions, if you are taken into it, are the diagnostic questions. It is, like I said earlier, they are computer adaptive. So that means the questions you see are based on the answer that the way that you answered the previous question. Let's see. Okay. The math portion, that's basically it. College level and then diagnostic. Okay. Do I have to take the TSI test? Essentially, yes. Essentially, each first-time in college student does have to take the TSI test. However, we do accept exemptions. If you have ACT scores, PSAT scores, SAT scores, or STAR scores, based on those scores, you will be exempt from portions of the TSI test. Now, you don't accept those scores, send those scores to the testing center. You will send those to the registrar. Those scores are only valid for 5 years from the date of testing, and only one of these exemptions are allowed. So if you have SAT scores, you can't combine them with any other scores such as ACT, PSAT, or the STAR scores. Okay, to be exempt with your ACT scores, you need a composite score of 23 and 19 or higher on the English and or math test sections. And to be exempt with SAT scores, prior to March 2016, if you took the SAT then, you will have a combined score of 1070 on the critical reading and math areas, a minimum of 500 on math for an exemption in math, and a minimum of 500 on critical reading to be considered exempt in writing and reading. Okay, so if you took the SATs after 2016, it is a little different. They do not combine the scores. However, to be considered exempt in math, you do need a minimum of 530. And then to be exempt in writing and reading, you need to have a minimum of 480 on evidence-based reading. And we cannot combine the scores from before March 16 and after March 16. And if you have STAR scores to exempt you, you need an Algebra 2 score of level 2, Reading English 3 EOC level 2, and Writing English 3 EOC level 2. So before you take the TSIA-2 test, you do need to complete the pre-assessment activity. Now, we do have the pre-assessment activity 1.0 that was compatible with the TSI 1.0. But now that we have a newer version of the TSI test, we do have a newer version of the pre-assessment activity as well. And if you completed the pre-assessment activity prior to January 2021, and you do need to take the TSI now, you will have to fulfill the pre-assessment activity 2 status because the 1.0 is not compatible with the 2.0. And I hope that makes sense. I know it's confusing. Like I said, it's a lot of information. We've had a lot of changes within this last year, but I hope that makes sense. If you need to take the TSI at all, you need to complete the pre-assessment activity. Now, the way to access that, the easiest way is through your web advisor. You'll log into your web advisor, and from your student menu, there's a link that says pre-assessment activity. You'll have to access it from there because that will filter through Tarrant County College. If you're given the pre-assessment activity link any other way, just make sure that you're filtering it for Tarrant County College because you don't want to complete it for another school when you're taking the TSI test with TCC. And I'll show you the certificate in just a moment, and it'll start to make sense. So again, this is how you access the pre-assessment activity. These are just some bullet points of what it will cover. It is a state requirement to take and complete before you take the TSI test. It is about a 20-25 minute video, but it's all useful and helpful information. And again, it is required to take before you take your test. If you come to the testing center and we've noticed that you've not completed it, we will have to turn you around and direct you to the pre-assessment activity. Now, once you complete, it'll send you a certificate. And like I mentioned, it'll filter for Tarrant County College. And now we are all one college, so it'll fulfill for all of our campuses. But the important part, like I said, is to make sure that you follow the links from your web advisor so that the institution is filtered for Tarrant County College. And also, you will have to put in your MyTCC email. Using your MyTCC email when communicating with any staff member or faculty member of TCC is very, very important. That's the only way that we communicate with our students, and that's how we can verify that it surely is definitely the student that we are communicating with. Okay, so do I have to pay for the test? If you are a current high school student in Tarrant County, no, you do not have to pay. Seniors, your last day to test for free is August 23rd, 2021, which is the first day of classes for the fall semester. If you take your test and you feel like you need to retest, you're not happy with your score, you are more than welcome to. Retests are free as long as you're in high school and as long as you are planning on taking classes at TCC. Now, if you are a senior and you're planning on taking your scores to a different school, UTA, Dallas County College, Texas State, whatever the case may be, and you choose to retest, it is $10 per section. So again, to clarify, if you are in high school and you need to take your TSI test, your test is free. However, once you take that test, that free test, and you choose to retest, it is going to be $10 per section. Okay, how can you study for the TSI, or how can you practice or prepare? If you go to our TCCD homepage and click on the admission tab, scroll down and you'll see testing centers to your bottom right. Once you click on testing centers, you go to the bottom and you'll open the drop-down box for studying for the TSI. And there's all kinds of links that you're more than welcome to use. We find that our students do like these. We also have an app that is completely free for students to use. You just have to create an account, and the app actually is developed by College Board or AccuPlacer, and that is the website that is actually administering the test. That's where the test came from. So those practice questions are as close as you can get to the real deal, to the real test. Okay, so what do you need for testing? You'll need a form of ID, driver's license, student ID, passport, your visa, whichever government photo ID you have works. And you will need a testing referral form. If you haven't received your testing referral form from me, Jones, from CACO, you can always get your testing referral form from one of our success coaches on any campus. But for the Northeast campus, this is the email address that you'll contact for your test referral. And we do not allow cell phones or calculators on the test. Okay, so because everything has gone virtual and remote within this past year, what are your options to take your test? You can take it online through Examity. Examity is our third-party live proctor. So what does that mean? Someone is watching you take your test through your computer. Now the advantage of that is that you can schedule your test anytime, 24/7. You have all of the time that you need. The proctor will sit there with you as long as you need. I have students who have tested at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, because that's when the house is quiet, that's when everyone's asleep, and that's when they can focus. Or if you would prefer to take it first thing in the morning, whichever is best for you. Appointments are available 24/7. You do need a laptop or desktop computer with a webcam and mic. Unfortunately, Chromebooks are not compatible. I'm not sure what the settings are on Chromebooks are, but for whatever reason, Chromebooks are not compatible, and you will need to download Zoom to take your test. Now, we have resumed on-campus testing. However, for Northeast campus, we are only doing on-campus testing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have two times available, either 8:30 a.m. or 1 p.m. And masks are required anytime you come onto our campus, and you will have to wear your mask the entire time you are taking your test. Register Blast. So we've recently, within this last week, we've recently launched Register Blast. It is an online portal that allows students to register for their test, whether they prefer to test remotely or on campus. We have it available for the TSI test, for your ALEX test, or for CLEP tests. And again, before you schedule your test for the TSI test, I can't stress this enough. Please, please, please make sure you have your pre-assessment complete and make sure you have your test referral. Again, if you don't get that from me, Jones, you can get that from the success coach on any of our campuses. And these are the websites that you can visit to schedule your test. Each campus has a specific website that you can schedule your test with. And then while you're creating your account and registering your account on Register Blast, we do have an agreement that students will have to read before they can complete the registration. It's just common things like, I won't have my hat on during testing. I have to complete the pre-assessment activity. I have to show an ID. If you're testing remotely, you have to acknowledge that you'll be monitored by a proctor. The proctor will be watching you the entire time. And keep in mind, these proctors are not there to answer your questions. Unfortunately, as far as the test goes, they're just there to make sure that you're testing in an approved environment. So when you're testing online, like I mentioned, it's a live online third-party proctor. You will need internet service, a device with webcam, speaker, and once you create your account with Examity, you will go through a systems check just to make sure that the device you're using is compatible. Again, this is taken online, not at TCC. Okay, now, however, like I said, there is an option to test on campus, but when you're testing online, you're testing online from home, not online at TCC. And there is a $25 proctor fee. TCC does waive the first 3 testing attempts if you choose to test remotely. So seniors, if you're choosing to test at home remotely, yes, your TSI test is still free. However, once you exhaust your 3 testing attempts at home, your 4th one will start incurring the $25 fee. So if you test on campus, you won't have that proctor fee because it'll be our staff that's proctoring you. So the only way to avoid that 4th fee, that 4th proctoring fee, is if you test on campus, or if you're able to get your test done within those, achieve the score that you want within those first 3 attempts. I hope this is all starting to make sense, but again, we will cover questions here at the end. Okay, so when you're testing online, they don't allow any breaks. The proctors won't allow you to eat any food or take any drinks. You can, however, break up your test into sections. If you prefer to take the ELAR portion by itself and then schedule your math portion separately, you can do that. Again, make sure you get your referral from a success coach, and this is our contact information for testing services. So how do you obtain a referral and how do you go about scheduling your test? Your first step is to contact a success coach. If it's your first time taking the TSI test, if you are retesting, you will contact an academic advisor. They will issue you a retest referral. Whether it's your first test or your second test, each test needs a test referral. After you complete each test, you will contact an advisor, and at that point, they'll determine if you need to retest, and then they will issue you that referral. When you test online, you will receive a copy of your test referral in your TCC student email. When you test on campus, you'll receive a hard copy of your scores. Again, your pre-assessment activity 2 must be complete before you test. And these are the links below. Once you're ready to schedule your test, you just follow these links, and these links will take you to the appropriate campus for wherever you prefer to test. And once you register on Register Blast, we will verify your documents. We'll make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and your T's crossed and everything is in place. And then we'll direct you further from there. Now, if you choose to register for a remote test, just please keep in mind it takes about 24 to 48 hours for a voucher to generate. We are about to enter peak registration for the fall semester, so please be patient with us. We will be working thoroughly with each student, but again, please be patient with us. We will get to you. And if you have to pay any fees, you can pay through Register Blast. Schedule to take your test. Okay, so like I mentioned, a voucher is required to test remotely. That voucher is just letting our third-party proctor examinee know that a student is scheduling a test with them, so they've got to line up a proctor to take your test with you. Now, if you're testing on campus, we do require appointments. We used to welcome walk-ins. However, unfortunately, because of the pandemic and the way everything is going now, we are only accepting appointments for on-campus testing. You'll take your test. Once you have all that in line, you'll take your test, and then you'll meet with an advisor and they'll go over your scores with you and discuss your potential classes based on your scores. What else do we offer in testing services? We offer advanced placement credit. So if you have any AP classes that AP scores that you want to submit, we can take those. We do administer CLEP tests and the ALEX test. The ALEX test is a test that you can take, and based on your score, you can test into a higher level math. And this is our contact information for our office. 817-515-6868. You will get any of us. During the summer, we are operating between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. And that is our email address at the bottom, northeast.testingservices@tccd.edu. Now, reaching us by email is actually the best, just because we have so many calls coming in at the same time, and we have emails coming in. Email is actually best because phone calls don't always get through. Sometimes our internet is out at home, but someone from our office will reach out to you via email. All right, and I'm going to pass it over to Angela. Give me one moment.
Thanks, Monica. Before you stop, we had a question from Bruce, who said that his daughter completed the PAW last week through WebAdvisor, but did not get a PAW certificate.
Okay. Let me go back. Okay, so that PAW certificate, just make sure that it goes to your daughter's TCC email, and that you access the PAW through the WebAdvisor, through her WebAdvisor. If you're still not able to get the certificate, go ahead and shoot an email. Let me go back to. Let me see.
Oh, let me pull it up, Monica, since I'm sharing next.
Oh,
that
yes.
way. And you just want to go back to the Northeast Testing Services email?
Yeah, just our contact information. That way, you can just shoot us an email or call us, and we can go from there.
And then everyone will receive, this is Angela with the TCC Foundation. Everyone will receive a PDF of this presentation if they registered. If you have not registered, just email us and we can happily send it to you. But I've attached some contact information at the end as well, some slides, and I'll go over those at the end of my presentation, but that way you have it, all together. And so I will go ahead and start then. So like I said, I'm Angela. I'm with the TCC Foundation, and I will explain the history of BISD and the requirements so that you know exactly what you need to do. So the Birdville ISD scholarship is a partnership between Birdville ISD, so all of the schools that fall into Birdville ISD, and Tarrant County College. What the scholarship provides is tuition costs up to 15 in-county credit hours per semester. So it's $64 a credit hour at TCC. So 15 credit hours would be $960. So that's the maximum award per semester. And then it is available for 2 consecutive semesters, excluding summer. So it's always a fall or spring semester. And then the eligibility requirements, you have to be a BISD graduate who completed their junior and senior year at a BISD school. If you're graduating early, that's okay. You just have to make sure that your junior and senior credits were completed at a BISD school. So if you only did your senior credits, then you would not be eligible. You have to have those 2 years. And then TCC has to be your first college of attendance. So if you decide to go to another school for the fall semester and then come back to TCC for the spring, you would forfeit the scholarship. You have to remember to enroll at TCC and utilize the scholarship during the first fall or spring semester immediately following your graduation. So for this academic year, you would have to start in the fall of 2021, this upcoming semester, or next semester, spring of 2022. And then if you can sit out a semester. So if you decide that you just need a break from school and you want to sit out the fall, that is okay as long as you don't attend another school, and then you can start in the spring. But if you don't start by the spring semester, then you forfeit the scholarship. So the BISD scholarship does not allow you to sit out a full year. And then the way we determine your eligibility is through the FAFSA application. So you'll need to do the 2021-2022 free application for federal student aid. The FAFSA application, even if you know that you will not be eligible for federal aid, that is our determining piece in order to figure out if you're eligible for the BISD. So how does BISD work with other financial aid? So it was set up for students who qualified for less than $960 of financial aid per semester. So basically for students who didn't qualify for any other financial aid. And so 960 is what BISD covers. So if you receive financial aid for more than that $960 a semester, then you're not eligible to receive it because you're receiving awards that pay in excess of that. And then if you receive financial aid less than the 960, so let's say you got a partial TPEG that, you know, was only $500, but you still had some unmet tuition costs, then the BISD scholarship can pay the difference. So if you were taking 15 credit hours and you had $500 worth of a grant from federal, from the FAFSA, then $460 could be applied from the BISD scholarship to make up the difference. And then you can receive other scholarships, outside scholarships, or even scholarships through the foundation to pay for your expenses outside of tuition. This does not include the Stars of Tomorrow scholarship. So if you are eligible for the Stars of Tomorrow scholarship, that is the only financial aid that you will receive. So application steps, which we'll kind of go through the next slides, but these are the top three that you focus on. So completing all the steps on the new to college checklist, which I'll show you in just a moment. But first and foremost, applying to TCC, making sure your social security number is included. Now, this is not a requirement for admission to TCC. So some of you may have already submitted an application without your social, and that's okay. But the reason we need it is that matches your FAFSA record to your TCC student record. So your social, your name, and your date of birth are the three identifiers that the Department of Education uses. So if we're missing one of those or one of those is inaccurate, then the FAFSA record can't be matched to your TCC student record. So if you've already applied and you did not provide your social, that's okay. You just have to contact the TCC registrar's office to add your social. And one of the contact sheets at the end will have a form that you can fill out to do so. So once you do that, then you complete the financial aid process, whether it's the FAFSA that I was talking about or the TASFA, which I will explain in just a moment. And then also making sure to submit your high school transcript to TCC. So this is the new to college checklist. The link right underneath it takes you to the web page. So it actually has, you know, each step with a little bit more information with links directly there for the different departments listed. But at the very bottom of that web page, you can also download and print this checklist if you want, if that helps you. But steps 1 through 3, and some of this Monica's already gone over, but step 1 is applying for admissions and financial aid, both online processes, and then you'll receive your TCC ID number when that happens. Memorize your ID number, just like Monica was saying about the My TCC email. Those are the two things that you need to know at TCC, your ID number and your email address. because every time you call in, we'll need to verify that we're speaking to, the correct student. And so we don't want to share personal information with anybody else. So just make sure that you memorize that. Then the step 2 is the registrar's office. So this is where you would submit, your high school transcript, your evidence of meningitis vaccination, or any other, documentation that they may request from you, like residency or, the scores that Monica was talking about. And then step 3 is, let me make this a little bit bigger. That might help. Sorry, I forgot to do that. So step 3, success coach, which we've kind of discussed a little bit already, but the role of the success coach is to review all the first time in college requirements. So everything that a first time in college student has to do, which includes completing the PAW, obtaining that TSI assessment, test referral, setting up your web advisor and TCC email account. If your major's undecided, you can do a My Plan referral, and then also taking the online readiness test if you're planning to enroll in online courses. And then, let me zoom this for y'all as well. So testing information has already been covered by Monica. The next step is advising and counseling, because once you've done the testing, then you need those scores to be interpreted by advising and counseling, and they will help you determine the appropriate courses. They will also schedule your new student group advisement. If your major was undecided before, just make sure you bring your My Plan results. And then once they set you up with new student group advisement, that's where you learn the policies and procedures for our school. You learn how to register, and you're actually able to register. So let's talk a little bit about the financial aid process. So like I mentioned, the 21-22 FAFSA application is what's needed, and that is available at www.fafsa.ed.gov. You will want to make sure that you enter the TCC school code 003626 so that TCC can receive your FAFSA records. It can take anywhere from 3 to 5 business days. I've seen it as short as 2 business days, so it just depends on the volume that they have to process. And then once you've submitted it and it's been a couple of business days, then you can start checking your financial aid portal. So that's accessible through your web advisor, which is something that you get, once you go through the first time in college, checklist, or the new My TCC track. So that is a new service that we have to register. So it's available both ways. It's a financial aid portal, and that will be able to confirm for you whether or not the financial aid office has your FAFSA on record. And then going to the TASFA. So if there's any undocumented students, they are unable to fill out the FAFSA online. So the TASFA is the Texas Application for State Financial Aid, and that is a paper form that can be found on the website for financial aid, and that is the link. So they would just, fill out the form, submit it back to financial aid, and then they have a little bit of a processing time as well for that. Verification. So there is a process called verification that is generated through the Department of Education. They randomly select about 30% of our students. So not 30% of the BISD students, of the overall students who are receiving financial aid. It's their way to audit the information that you provide on the FAFSA. So they want to make sure that what you entered is correct. And so there may be some additional information that has to be provided to student financial aid services. It can be as simple as a verification worksheet that you do online, or it can be a little more complicated if you have to request a tax return transcript or some kind of income verification from the IRS. So you definitely want to check your My TCC email often, because that is the source, like Monica said, that we use to communicate with our students, or your financial aid portal to find out what's needed. And if you are selected, definitely get that information to them as quickly as possible, just because there is some processing times. So if you have to request a document from the IRS, there's some time that you have to wait to get that, document. Once you submit all documents to the financial aid office, then what will happen is within 7 to 10 business days, that process will be completed. So being selected for verification can delay the determination of your BISD eligibility. So just make sure that you stay on top of the process. So speaking of, let's talk about BISD deadlines. So it's already May, and I know you're wrapping up your senior year, and you've got a lot on your plate, but we do recommend that you submit your FAFSA by June 1st. Now, some of you may have already done that. If so, very proud of you, because it always opens October 1st of the previous year. So it's been available since October. If you have not, you still have time, don't worry. But we recommend June 1st because we want to give you sufficient time to allow for the processing. So if you're one of those students that gets selected for verification, you definitely want to make sure that you have time to get everything submitted, give the financial aid office time to do their piece. That way, by the time that you need it, it's there. The first payment deadline for the semester is August 5th at 11:59 p.m. So you can register for classes starting this week. May 10th, I think, was the start of registration. So once you're registered, your classes will be held until this August 5th timeline. So if the BISD scholarship is not viewable, if you can't see the BISD scholarship on your financial aid portal by August 5th, then you'll need to either pay for classes on your own or set up a payment plan to prevent your classes from being dropped. Now, you could let them drop and then just re-register, the following day, but you run the risk of losing some of those classes. So you definitely want to make sure that you either have, your BISD process completed by that time, or you've set up some kind of payment, plan. And all the payment plans are run through the Business Services Office. That's the link that you can visit to get additional information. So the eligibility process, whether it's your FAFSA, your TASFA, or if you're selected for verification, all of that has to be resolved no later than the first day of class, which is August 23rd, in order to receive the BISD. So even though we have August 23rd there, I still want y'all to go back to that June 1st deadline because we want to give you plenty of time to work through those steps that may come from being selected or, just being new to college and, learning the ropes and, working with the different departments. So June 1st, if y'all can keep that in mind, that would be best. And just some information on your high school transcript. So this is the final official high school transcript. So this is after you have graduated. So if you try to submit one now, it's not going to be accepted as a final official one. Most of the BISD schools, I believe, are using Parchment to send that information to TCC. You should have information on the counselor's webpage at your high school. If not, just reach out to your high school counselor and they'll be able to tell you the process for requesting the transcripts and getting them to TCC. And then if you are a dual credit student, the Department of Education requires that we confirm graduation before awarding any kind of award to a dual credit student. So that means there's an extra step for dual credit students. So after a dual credit student has submitted their transcript and selected a degree plan, then that student must notify the financial aid office so that they can be awarded. So the information for financial aid is there. You can either call them or you can email them, and all of this will be also at the end in the contact information sheets. And then registration requirements and payments. So now that you have the BISD scholarship, you've gone through all those steps and it's on your account. So how do you use it? So first off, you have to register for at least a minimum of 6 credit hours. So most college courses are 3 credit hours. So that would be a minimum of 2 college classes. Payment for tuition from you is not required as long as you see that BISD scholarship on your financial aid portal. So if it's not on your account, like I said before, by 11:59 p.m. on August 5th, then a payment plan must be set up or your classes will be dropped. And then once it's on there, tuition will be paid 10 days before fall classes begin. And that's the same for all financial aid. So 10 days before, Department of Education gives us the release, yay, we can pay. And so you'll see those, adjustments to your account. And then now that you have it, for your first semester, what do you have to do to maintain it, to get it for that spring semester or your second semester? So it is renewable for an additional semester if the following requirements are met in the first semester of the award. So by the end of your first semester, you have to have completed a 2.5 GPA or higher. You have to have completed 6 semester hours. You have to meet with an academic advisor 3 times during the semester. And this is just so that we know that it's hard to transition from high school to college. So we want to set you up for success. And so meeting with an academic advisor anytime you have a question, making sure that you're still on track, that just means a greater likelihood that you're going to be successful in your classes. And then for those students who decide to sit out the fall semester and start in the spring, then a new FAFSA has to be completed by June 1st of 2022. So the 2022-2023 FAFSA has to be completed. And the reason that is because that student that starts in the spring is straddling 2 years. So the fall is the beginning of a new academic term. So we have to start the process again and just confirm that eligibility once again. And then these are some resources. I try to think of most of what you need, but if there's something missing, of course, you can always reach out to us. But how to get to the TCC website, to our webpage, the new to college webpage and checklist, the admissions application, the record change request if you are needing to add your social, if that's not something that you already previously did. Waiver of academic privacy. So this form allows TCC staff to speak to someone else, whoever's listed on that form regarding your account. So in high school, your parents had full access to your information. In college, it's different. So you have to give us permission to speak to your parents. So parents that are on the call, just remember that if you call to talk to us about your student, we will need to confirm that we have permission from them. And then there's a video on how to register for classes using the new MyTCC track. And then these are just the contact information. So the emails and the phone numbers for the different departments, so admissions and registrar, academic advising, and it is split up by campus, but all of our offices, testing, all of our offices, if you reach the wrong campus, they can direct you. They have the same information. And then business services, in case you need to, look up any payment information. If you have other financial aid and you need to set up your refund provider, then that's also listed there. And then the information for financial aid. So that is the end. We are very excited about our continued partnership with Birdville ISD that supports our amazing students and future TCC trailblazers. So we're happy that you've chosen TCC, that you're interested in continuing your educational journey with us. And like I said, we are here to assist you. We'll open it up for questions. I'll stop the presentation. Let me show you one more. So any additional questions, you can contact Susan. She is the person who answers our main line. There's my direct line as well, our webpage, and any questions that you have can be directed to scholarship@tccd.edu. So I will just exit out. That way I can see the chat. Raise your hand if you have questions, or if there's any, questions in the chat that we need to address, then we can do that at this time. Okay. So I'm just kind of reading through some of the chat to see if there's anything that went unanswered. So Emma just asked, how will being online work? Is it kind of like high school or is it on a different platform? So TCC has made the decision to be back in person for the fall semester. Oh, and that, sorry, I thought that was about classes, but that may be about testing. So if it's about classes, then we will be back in person. You can still take online courses, but it's not going to be the same as it is now. If it's regarding testing, Emma, then that is done through Examity, and they will watch you through a Zoom feed to make sure that you're taking the testing online. Okay, Emma said it is about classes. So yes, you do have to come to class if you choose an in-person class. So we will still offer online courses through our TCC Connect campus. So obviously, if you choose an online course, you would not have to be physically at the campus. But many of our classes that our students had to take online because of the pandemic are switching back to in-person. So just make sure that when you're doing registration that you are aware, and this is something that you can talk to either one of the success coaches or advisors about. Just make sure that if you want to be in person, that those are the classes you're selecting, or if you want to be only online, then you're only selecting online courses. Yes, Michelle is asking, new students have to test or exempt first and meet with an advisor before they can register for classes. Yes, all first time in college. Oh, and I think Monica just answered. Yes, all first time in college students have to take the TSI test. But if you have one of those exemptions that she mentioned, like SAT or PSAT scores, those get submitted to the registrar's office, and then based on those scores, you may not have to take the test, but an advisor has to meet with you to discuss all that. Emily, yes, if you get more than $960 from the FAFSA first semester, you do not qualify for the BISD scholarship. That's correct. Marlene, you submit your meningitis vaccination records to the registrar's office. And on the slide for the TSI, it will tell you what to bring. So the photo ID, you can't have a calculator or cell phone. And then Bruce, you submitted your daughter's meningitis shot, but haven't received confirmation. That would be through the registrar's office. So when you receive this presentation, if you will just email or call one of the registration offices, they can help you. And then Fatima, how would I know I was able to get the scholarship? So you will have access to a financial aid portal once you are set up as a student, and that portal will let you know your awards for the year, and BISD scholarship will be listed. However, Student Financial Aid Services also sends out an award letter via email to all students that will let you know whether or not you have the scholarship on your account. Let me know if I missed your question. I think we've answered. Oh, there's another one. So Carl is asking if the scholarship funds can be used towards certifications. Yes. So it does not have to be, you can use it for certificate of completions or associate degrees. And Jamie's asking if dual credit classes, if dual credit students, sorry, it keeps getting bumped down. If a student took dual credit classes in high school, do they need to complete the TSI again? I'll let Monica answer that. Michelle is asking is there any way for students to do research on t-shirts to see other student recommendations? I think it's ratemyprofessor.com, me or Monica.
Yes. If the professors are listed, you can use ratemyprofessors.com. I wouldn't put too much weight on it because it is, opinion based. But there is a way to look at ratings or recommendations through that website.
Okay. Okay, so we are at 7 o'clock. So let me just do one final check. But if for some reason we get off the call and 5 minutes later you think of something, then you can definitely email us. So we just had a new question. How do you make sure that, your FAFSA, we received your FAFSA? So same thing as before, checking your financial aid portal or your MyTCC email. So notification gets sent to your email, and then your financial aid portal gets updated once the FAFSA is linked to your TCC student record.
Angela, do you want to take the question from Bruce? If my daughter scores poorly on a section of the TSI and has to take remedial courses to get caught up, do the remedial courses count toward college credit? Or me?
It doesn't matter.
From my understanding, the developmental courses are not credit-based. So they do not count towards those minimum, it's 6 credit hours that they must maintain in order for those to maintain the scholarship.
Yes, that's correct. So Kathy's asking if she's a dual credit student, is she not able to finish registering until we get her high school transcript? It does not affect registration, but it will affect the awarding of your BISD scholarship. So once you've graduated and have gotten the transcript to us and updated your degree plan, then that's when you would need to notify financial aid services so that they can award you. So advising and counseling is who you would need to speak to about the classes that you want to take for the fall to make a plan. So that is a requirement for all first-time in college students, so everyone will have to go through that. And it looks like we have a question from Jennifer. If you do poorly on the test, do you have to take remedial courses if you're not trying to receive a degree? That would need to be answered by advising. So when you meet with the advisor to go over your TSI test scores, that's something that they can answer for you. And yes, Kathy, you can register for fall now once you've done all the steps, the testing, the meeting with the advisor. So once you get to the point where you've done all of that, then registration has opened for the fall. Oh. All right, well, I'm happy to stay on for a few moments in case anybody else has any questions. Or if Monica or me, y'all see that I missed something in the chat.
I don't think so, but I'm happy to stay on as well if anyone has any questions for testing.
And I know this is a lot of information. So if you have to ask multiple times, it's okay. That's why we're here. Susan's asking if we answered Alejandro's question. Let me see if I can go up and find it. Yes, we did answer Alejandra's question about how to verify that TCC has received the FAFSA, either by checking the MyTCC email or by checking the financial aid portal through WebAdvisor or MyTCC Track. And if you get to that, if you get closer to that August 5th deadline and you're not seeing the BISD scholarship and you think you've done everything on that requirements list, you've gone through all the first time in college requirements and, to the best of your knowledge, you've done everything, we're happy to go over and review your record with you. You just have to give us a call or email us. Like it was mentioned before, email is the best way to get in touch with us. Just because we can only answer a call at a time. So if we're already on the phone with the student, then you may not be able to get through, but if we have your email, then those are definitely get answered, I will hang out until about 7:10, but I just want to thank everyone for coming and for investing time and, learning everything that you need to know about, starting college and starting this new journey. But please reach out to us. We're happy to help. Looks like we have a few students left. Does anybody else have any questions? I would sing to y'all, but y'all do not want me to do that.
Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, looks like there's not any questions. So thank you once again to me and Monica and the rest of the team that was on here. Like I mentioned, reach out to us if you need us, and we will make sure that we get you started at TCC. We are happy to have you. So have a good night, everyone. If you registered, you will receive a PDF presentation of this. If you do not receive it for whatever reason, then just definitely reach out to us. All right. Thank you. Y'all have a great night.
Is this meeting still going on?